If you come to speak on any of the permits or those public hearings, there's additional time to talk to those specific items. If you just came for general public comments, this is your time to speak. You have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address for the record. If you are speaking on behalf of a group, please specify the group, and we will give you 5 minutes to speak. Mr. Reed here will be our timekeeper, and will let us know when you're getting close to the 3 or 5 minutes or 30 seconds up to it. So first public comment we have is Phil Purvis.
How you doing? Phil Purvis,
Push the button.
Phil Purvis, 509 Megan Lane, Shipman, Virginia. The reason I'm up, I own a home in Shipman that's closer than 75 feet from the center of the road, and I know there's a setback ordinance that's in place, and I'm not opposed to that ordinance for new construction, but there are a lot of homes, almost every home on 56 down through Shipman is closer than, or a good amount of them are closer than 25 feet from the edge of the road. And we hear a whole lot about affordable housing and trying to create places for people to live. Well, this is just a four-room home, and if I could get a septic tank put into place there, I'd like to add a couple of rooms just to make it a little more user-friendly for folks, because most people need at least 2 or 3 bedrooms in particular. But like I said, I'm all in favor of the 75-foot setback for new construction. But I think where you've got homes that have been there, this home's probably been there for close to 100 years. And a lot of those homes down through there have been, that there should be an exemption from the current ordinance or whatever it is that limits you from, now I'm not suggesting we should be able to build closer to the road, but as long as you stay behind the front of the house and go back, I don't see how that's infringing on anything, as long as you have, you have enough room on the back end of your homes, not to encroach upon somebody else's property.
That makes sense.
But, I mean, that could create a real hardship. I know that one of the gals that works in her office has got a home, and her whole home is within that 75 feet setback. She can't even add a deck on her house according to the current ordinance. But I think that, and that home was built before before this ordinance came into effect. So I just like for the board to consider maybe changing that for existing homes, and of course, keeping it the same for new construction or proposed construction homes. It just makes, I think it just makes sense that, that those homes should be grandfathered in. If they were allowed to be able to be built that close to the road, certainly they ought to be able to add an addition on the back end of it to make it more livable.
I think that's already been addressed.
We'll address it some. I think we can make a directive. All right. Dana, I had you on here a second. There you go.
Dana Dolberg, 2245 Thomas Nelson Highway, Arrington. I've been a Nelson County resident for about 6.5 years now, and my property is surrounded by several large parcels of property that there is potential for development. So periodically, I stop into the building and zoning office to see if anyone has pulled any permits or submitted any plans or anything, just to be aware of what's going on, in my neighbors. One of the properties is owned by someone out of town, so I can't really directly communicate with them. But recently, the last time I was in, I was told that they would no longer be able to provide me with that information. It was going to be necessary to submit a FOIA request. It would have to be reviewed, and they could possibly get back to me in two weeks. I was just curious why we have gone from a task that was so simple and efficient, 5 minutes, to something that is just bureaucracy and red tape? Is there any reason? It's public information. It's a public servant communicating with a citizen of the county. Is there any reason why that has become necessary?
So we can't really respond directly to you in this setting because it could create a lot of back and
I
forth.
understand.
But certainly staff, if you shoot an email to staff and everyone, I'm sure we'll get you some answers, all right?
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Anyone else wish to speak in public comments? Hearing none, we're now going to close the public comment section part of this agenda. Moving on to special use permit number 867. So close to 876.
All right, this is a request for a special use permit for a restaurant on property zoned A1 agriculture at 72 Saddleback Farm in Afton. This is a Veritas Winery in the North District. Property is about 28 acres. Here representing the application are George and Patricia Hodson. Rezoning 479 from R1 residential to A1 agriculture with a concurrent special use permit for a restaurant was approved by the Board of Supervisors on January 11th, 2022. At the time, an addition had already been constructed to be utilized as a restaurant and required approval of the special use permit to allow public access. Because the addition was attached to the existing bed and breakfast, there was difficulty determining an efficient and cost-effective method to comply with statewide building code requirements such as firewall separation between the bed and breakfast and the restaurant. The owners have diligently pursued a path forward and have determined that the most appropriate way to proceed would be to construct an entirely separate facility for the restaurant use. Because their original special use permit expired after 1 year, they are required to acquire a new special use permit for the new construction. Currently, the food is prepared at the winery facility on an adjoining parcel and transported to the farmhouse for service to guests. So this is the parcel here. It's Afton Mountain Road, accessed by Saddleback Farm. VDOT does not have any comments. And here is where the proposed restaurant structure. Let's see, as I mentioned, the R1 portion along Afton Mountain Road was rezoned in 2022. The change has not yet been reflected on our GIS, but we're working on that. There are no floodplains on the property. The owners continue to work with the health department regarding septic requirements, and the Office of Drinking Water regulates the public waterworks well. If they're going to be disturbing land more than 10,000 square feet, an erosion plan will be required. And at their meeting on March 22nd, the Planning Commission voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the special use permit application to the board.
All right, any questions for Dylan before we ask the applicant to come up? Hearing none, can the applicant come up?
George Hodson, 151 Saddleback Farm, CEO of Veritas Vineyard and Winery. We have been, thank you for the word, diligently working on this process, and we've kind of been through a couple of roads and back up them and trying to figure out a way to make this most cohesively work with the existing farm, with the existing winery, and through the process of going back and forth on the firewall, the mixed use of the bed and breakfast, we have determined that a freestanding building is the best procedure forward. As you can see, there's existing structures there. There's a barn and a gazebo already existing. So the impact on the overall farm will be fairly minimal considering the parking is already there. The amount of traffic coming to the restaurant will not change dramatically. And with the access road being as it is and the amount of traffic that the neighbors are accustomed to with visitation to the winery, we've had actually quite a lot of really positive feedback. There was an article in the paper this last week that we were in this process, and we had a lot of people reaching out to us and saying how excited they were for this. So our intent is to have a minimal impact and to have the cleanest path forward to have this restaurant operate adjacent to a bed and breakfast. We've been diligently working. We've had a great working relationship with the new building inspector, Jeremy, and a very cooperative conversation on how to best proceed. And so this is kind of the result of that. We're in the process of designing the structure, getting a builder, and our intent is to get started on it as soon as we possibly can, because we're at that place now where we're ready to proceed. So want to also express a level of gratitude for the cooperation of the county staff and the building inspector. We have really transitioned to a very productive relationship that has allowed us to actually take a good course forward and be able to do something that will be viable for us in the future. And yeah, so we just want to be an asset to the county and continue doing essentially what we're currently doing.
Great. Any questions for the applicant at this time? You always have questions.
Not now.
Wow. Great.
I got mine out of the planning commission.
All right.
Did a great job explaining this.
All right. Well,
Thank you, guys.
thank you, and have a seat, and we'll call you back up if we have any questions. At this time, let's go on ahead and open up the public hearing. I now open the special use permit number 867 restaurant public hearing. There's no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? Hearing none. We now close the public comment section of the special use permit number 867 restaurant. Are there any questions for staff or the applicant? If there are none, a motion would be great.
I'll make a motion
All right.
accept.
All right, let me help you word this. To approve special use permit number 867 with the conditions given to us approved by the planning commission. Or there were none. Okay, so you can just approve it as is.
I do.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Harvey. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's do a roll call vote.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Barton? Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford?
Yes. Have a great day. All right. Moving on to ordinance O2023-01, amendment to chapter 3, animals. Candy, Amanda, and company. We have to remember to continue our meeting.
It's on the agenda, we will not.
Good. All right. You weren't going to let us get away with it.
It's too important.
William, tell them to take the conversation down the hall if you don't mind.
Okay, this presentation was not in your packet. Do they have copies of it?
No, apologies.
Okay, our apologies.
We got very busy today.
So
Yeah.
rude.
Good job. You brought a good worker today.
All right, so this public hearing is on proposed amendments to the Code of Nelson County, Chapter 3 Animals. It is authorized by Resolution 2023-15, adopted March 14, 2023. So the purpose of the proposed amendments is to remove references to outdated state code sections, update definitions and remove unnecessary definitions, remove sections that are duplicative of state laws in effect and locally enforced under those statutes, implement local fee changes and additions, update penalties for violations to match state law and implement a civil penalty for certain violations, and then to amend Article 5 offense law. This would amend existing section 3-81, boundaries declared lawful fences to include domesticated livestock or poultry. An addition of section 3-82, unlawful for livestock to run at large, and the addition of section 3-83, recovery of costs. The updated and removed definitions are as follows. Updated ones are animal, livestock, releasing agency. Removed definitions include board, pound, state veterinarian's representative, and treasurer. Sections removed as duplicative of state law. These laws remain in effect and continue to be locally enforced. Section 3-36, dogs or hybrid canines killing, injuring, or chasing livestock or poultry. This is enforced under State Code Section 3.2, 6583. Section 3-37, dangerous or vicious dogs. This is enforced under State Code Section 3.2, 6583. Section 3-39, confinement and disposition of stray animals is enforced under State Code Section 3.2, 6546. And the main reason Mr. Payne recommended that these be removed is simply because the state makes changes to these all the time, and there's no keeping up with those changes on a local level when we can just enforce these under the state code sections. We have some proposed fee changes. The current fees are approximately 20 years old. In section 3-40B, the dog adoption fees, which includes sterilization, the December parvo and rabies vaccination, our current fee is $70, and the proposed fee is $160. The basic SPCA fee is $150. And I listed that as basic because they have several different categories for an average dog, puppies, an older dog. Same with cat adoption fees. These include sterilization, December and rabies vaccinations. The current fee is $65 and the proposed fee is $90. The basic SPCA fee is $80 or 2 for $120. Section 3-40D, current daily confinement fees for licensed dogs or other companion animals. Our current fee for that is $5 per day, and the proposed fee would go to $10 per day. In talking to Mr. Wright, who couldn't be here tonight, he said that they don't do a lot of adoptions. They no longer get people that come kind of coming through and checking the shelter to see what animals are for adoption. He said most of the time when they adopt out animals, it's because a person has brought an animal that they found or has wandered onto their property to the shelter and had said, if nobody claims this animal in the hold period, then let us know, we'll come adopt the animal. Proposed new fees in section 3-40D. A dog pickup fee for a licensed dog would be waived and would be $0. Pickup fees for an unlicensed dog would be $25. Daily confinement fees for an unlicensed dog would be $20 a day. And then any companion animal for court-related, rabies-related, and or isolation-related reasons would be $25 per day. Updated penalties for violations and proposed new civil penalty. Section 3-71, unlawful acts, criminal penalties would be updated to reflect the state code section 3.2, 6587. We propose a new section 3-72, civil penalties for certain violations. This is authorized by state code section 3.2, 6543. It basically says any violation of a section of this chapter may be punishable by a civil penalty in the amount of $150. So it's not any type of misdemeanor, it's simply a civil penalty for $150 here. The imposition of the civil penalty shall not preclude any action for injunctive, declaratory, or other equitable relief. And then it describes that the money raised due to this section will be placed into the county's general fund. And any person issued a summons or ticket would be able to prepay that violation. Proposed amendment to section 3-81, boundaries declared lawful fences. Ordinance 2019-02 was adopted in November of 2019, and it amended chapter 3 to declare boundaries lawful fences, which meant Nelson County went from a fence out locality to a fence in locality. The proposed amendment would include domesticated livestock or poultry and read as follows. The boundary line of each lot or tract in this county is hereby declared a lawful fence to any domesticated livestock or poultry. The proposed new section 3-82, unlawful for livestock to run at large. And this is authorized by Virginia Code Section 55.1, 2820. When the county became a fenced-in locality and declared property boundaries lawful fences, this enabled local legislation to prohibit dogs and livestock from running at large. Section 3-43, dogs running at large, was enacted in November 2020 via Ordinance O-2020-02 and amended in October 2022 via Ordinance O-2022-03. The purpose of the proposed Section 3-82 is not to penalize the conscientious livestock owner whose livestock occasionally get outside of their fences. Rather, it is to give animal control officers enforcement authority in cases where livestock are habitually roaming beyond their fences and are negatively impacting the public's health, safety, and welfare and are causing property damage. The proposed new section 3-82, unlawful for livestock to run at large, provides that it is unlawful for the owner or manager of any domesticated livestock or poultry to allow willfully or negligently any such animal as to which the boundaries of lots or tracts of land have been constituted a lawful fence to run at large beyond the limits of his own land within the county. Any owner or manager who allows such animal to run at large shall be deemed to have violated this section, which shall be punishable as a Class 1 misdemeanor. The proposed new section 3-83, recovery of costs, is proposed because there are many costs associated with animal control dealing with livestock recovery and confinement. This proposed section serves to provide the authority to recover those costs and serve as a deterrent to those who willfully or negligently allow their livestock or poultry to run at large. The proposed section 3-82 provides when domesticated livestock or poultry running at large are recovered by animal control or law enforcement, then all costs associated with the recovery and confinement of such animals shall be the responsibility of the owner or manager. Such costs shall include, but are not limited to, the engagement of private citizens to capture the animals, fees for transporting the animals, boarding expenses for confinement by the county or on the property of others, and expenses incurred in connection with sale or other disposition of such animals. And that is a summary of the proposed ordinance amendments.
All right, any questions for Candy before we go to a public hearing?
Just,
Okay, question I had is, can you send this out to us? It was a very clear presentation compared to what was sent out and
Sure, I
everything
certainly
else.
can.
So I wanted to compliment everybody involved and staff and animal control for putting that all together.
Yep, certainly. Certainly send it out tomorrow.
All right, Skip?
in reading the packet that was sent, and I just want to reiterate, because we had a public comment to this effect. There's no intention not to cooperate with farmers who are attempting to keep, things happen, fences break, animals are pretty tricky at times, so the intention is to cooperate with farmers as much as possible, and only to use these things in the case of negligence.
Right, that's correct.
Yeah.
Willfully and negligently allowing your animals to run at large.
The people who are suffering from at-large livestock are really, truly suffering. Like when you come face to face with a bull in your front yard, like that's, now, again, I would look at any other native Nelsonian and they might have a certain way of handling those circumstances, but I can of course think of this little old lady who called me up and she had one in her yard and she told me to come over and help her get it out of her yard because that was the only option. I said I might be a little slow getting there. And luckily the farmer at that time had gone to take care of the situation. This situation was, happened a lot on Davis Creek. It's happened a lot in Schuyler. It's happened a lot in a bunch of different places.
There are places that it continues to happen.
Yes, and at some point, we've made the rule. They get their warnings, but it don't stop them. So, and but nobody wants to hurt the farmer. Like I don't want to see that in no way, shape, or form. And if this comes out and a bad taste of that, we'll do some corrective action real quick. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. So.
Yeah, this just gives our animal control officers the ability to have some enforcement mechanism in place. And it's not meant to, it won't affect the majority of our county's farmers.
The other thing that's amazing about this is government can move very slowly. And even though
Years.
this wasn't needed, we did this pretty quickly.
Well, I would venture to say it's taken a while because when we first started, you remember what those meetings looked like. And a lot of compliments to Mr. Parr, he really helped us get over the edge on the, which one was it? At-large dogs. Like he really helped us get over that edge on that and get everybody in a good wavelength of life. Let's go to the public hearing if that's all right. Now open the public hearing for ordinance 2023-01, amendment of chapter 3 animals. Ms. Moore. You have 3 minutes. State your name and address for the record.
My name is M.L. Moore. My address is 412 Melmont Lane, Amherst. Y'all are probably pretty tired of seeing me, especially Mr. Barton and Officer Wright. Nevertheless, here I am again. I feel like I'm going to reiterate everything that was just said about this. So I'll kind of condense what I have to say. I definitely support this ordinance. The elimination of all that duplicative language clarifies a lot of what was basically incomprehensible. The proposal, as we know, would not negatively impact Nelson County farmers. However, a few irresponsible owners would no longer be able to go scot-free when they repeatedly ignore the law. I'm personally talking about 4 days in the last week. Large livestock is a nuisance. They damage properties. They're a grave safety concern. I think the updated ordinance would cure this behavior. Animal control would have the recourse to uphold the law, and affected landowners would finally get reprieve. Please vote to pass this amendment.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Hearing none. Man, did we turn the lights out in the back?
Yeah, I think they're off.
Sorry. Close the public comments for 2023-01. All right, board, any questions for staff or any recommendations at this time?
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion.
I move that we adopt ordinance 2023-01, Nelson County Board of Supervisors Amendment to the Code of Nelson County, Chapter 3, Animals.
Can I make a suggestion? I'd like to put a start date. What is this? Is there a start?
Unless there's no date specified, ordinances become.
Immediately.
Yes, effective upon adoption.
The only reason why is I think if you give it 1 week and animal control gets to call all of those habitual offenders and say on this date, I think that would be a good thing, or a couple weeks or something like that. Give them one last chance to take care of their fences. Again, for the 10th time. That's up to you. Yeah, I can be overruled on that. What do you think, Skip?
I think if they're taking care of their fences, the animal control officer will recognize that.
Well, what I'm saying is they can start making phone calls to all these habitual offenders and say, hey, in 1 week this takes place. And this
I
is
know,
what's
but,
happening.
Ms. Moore, you said
No, you
last
can't.
week there were 4 times?
We can't engage in the public, but yes. You can make it immediate. I was just spitballing an idea. Ernie, what do you think? You can say no.
I think we have a motion.
All right, that's fine. Someone second his motion then.
I second.
So that would take place as of tonight, so. All right, I tried. Make a roll call, Amanda.
Mr. Harvey,
No.
Mr. Barton,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford.
Yes, but I tried for 2 weeks. All right, any other business before we continue this meeting to a different date? Okay, hearing none, we need to continue our meeting to what time again? 11 on the 13th, correct? Have we confirmed that Mr. Parr will be back by then? You haven't talked to him about that date, right?
He was here yesterday.
No, he was not here yesterday.
Yes, he was too.
No, he wasn't.
On the day before, I mean,
He was here last week.
no,
All right,
this week.
all
I
right.
think previously he may have said he was available that day. I can.
I'm gonna shoot him a text.
Are you asking him?
Yeah,
Okay.
is there anything you need to talk about while I do that?
No, sir.
Anything you wanna talk about, Skip?
Someone talk about something until we get an answer.
If we were going to add another different day,
Can we pick that date and if he doesn't make it,
well, we
Yeah, I
have,
think we should set,
pick the
we have
date?
to continue the meeting.
Oh, yeah, we'd have to still show up again.
Yeah.
Didn't we say we were gonna do that last
Well,
time?
we didn't have to.
We didn't have to. All right, hold on. He's texting me back.
Flight canceled, strength for me.
It's a rough one. He has interviews for DSS all that day, he says.
That's right.
Budget. All right.
Monday, the 17th?
Within what time frame were you hoping to accomplish something?
Well, we need to get the public hearing added to the paper on the 21st, so we need
If
to
we,
know.
can you do Monday, the 17th?
That's, let's see.
Is that tough? We also
Yeah,
have,
we have.
we also have the Gladstone Depot meeting that we talked about using that day on the 18th.
Yeah, the 18th was possible, maybe 1 to 3.
It doesn't take everybody to be here.
I think this one will.
So we could do the 18th and perhaps do the 19th if we had to.
Yes.
We could.
I'm,
Okay. That-
let
I'm
me,
good
I'm
with that.
texting 18th, what time on the 18th y'all suggested?
1.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. 1 p.m. All right. It's real-time info. Suspense. I don't get all sorts of phone calls. I would, so, all right, he just volunteered. I don't want to make him do that though. Let's see if, I don't want to make him skip this.
Let's do Monday.
He's texting me back right now. I'm gonna make him skip that meeting. It's the DSS meeting. Can we do it earlier? Earlier or later? What time? I'm just gonna call. This will be easier. Okay, yeah, he says he can make 18th at 1 work.
1 to 3 on the 18th,
Okay, 1, 2.
or however long it takes.
He says he'll do whatever we need to, and I think that's very reasonable if he gets through the first one.
So Monday,
The 18th, which is
that's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, 1 to 3.
Tuesday, 1 to 3.
We We could start prior to 1 if anybody wants to. We just have that Gladstone meeting at 10.
Soon.
That could probably,
We can move the Gladstone meeting.
That's it.
that thing, we struggle to get that together. I mean, we can, but,
We'll be meeting in this building anyway,
right.
and we'll just tell them to make it sooner. Oh, wait, that's actually, VDOT's gonna be there and everything.
Right. And that shouldn't take
That shouldn't take an hour.
I have a hard time making a 12 o'clock meeting, but I can make one for sure.
Let's just do one. All right,
And then if we need another one, Wednesday's a possibility,
Mhm.
is that what we're saying?
18th, 1, 2, 3. All right, he's fine with that. All right, so we continue this meeting to the 18th, 1 to 3.
So move.
Motion,
And no meeting on Thursday,
correct.
no meeting on Monday,
No,
Tuesday.
correct.
I'll make a motion.
Well, you already had, that's already made, you're seconding it. You second it, Skip?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, let's do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any objections, abstentions? Adios. Good job.
Thank you.
The transfer